Welcome to Evergreen Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia, a place of profound historical significance and a testament to resilience of a community. Established in 1891, Evergreen Cemetery became the resting place for many of Virginia's most influential African American residents. Among them were Maggie L. Walker, the pioneering president and founder of the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank, and John Mitchell Jr., a passionate advocate for African American rights and the editor of the Richmond Planet newspaper. The tombstones, many designed by stonemason J. Henry Brown, stand as enduring monuments to their legacies. By the early 1970s, this sacred ground had fallen into despair. In 1975, volunteers from the Maggie L. Walker Historical Foundation initiated a restoration effort, striving to return Evergreen to its former glory. Their work was more than just physical restoration. It was an act of environmental justice, honoring the historical Black area that had suffered neglect and vandalism. Evergreen is the final resting place of thousands who faced segregation, discrimination, and racial violence, yet contributed immensely to the city of Richmond. During the era of Jim Crow, the cemetery's African American founders envisioned it as a premier burial ground for Black residents, a beacon of dignity and respect. However, in the mid-20th century, Evergreen and its neighboring cemeteries were targeted by an extensive campaign of vandalism and dumping, symbolizing the racial injustice of the time. Amidst this destruction, cemetery management struggled, and the once pristine grounds became overgrown and unrecognizable.
In private hands, held by the Ensminger family, who had owned it, maintained it, for as long as they could. I mean, again, the history of this cemetery is very much the history of many African American cemeteries across the country. Once you start, you stop disinterments or interments into the property, where you're doing burials. Now you don't have those fees coming in, less funds, less money to do the maintenance, and just slowly it's just downward spiral. And so had hit the bottom of the spiral. And as you've seen walking around taking pictures, I mean, it was very much overgrown. I mean, you couldn't even see even 5 feet into any of these spaces that we're standing here looking at now. With the Richmond Foundation, and they made an application to our Preservation Trust Fund, in which we were awarded them $400,000 for the original acquisition of Evergreen Cemetery itself. Evergreen kind of stood independent of East End Cemetery, which was still owned by the Ensmingers as well. About a year or so later, they made another application to our Preservation Trust Fund, and we gave them another, I want to say, $160,000-ish in order to do the acquisition of East End Cemetery. So that made this entire complex of this historic African American cemeteries one at that point, and put them into this nonprofit's hands. For a number of years, the nonprofit and Richmond Foundation, who, with support of the city of Richmond, had been working with the community to really begin to do the work that you see here, and develop a vision for what the space could be, of how do we honor the folks that have been buried here, and especially the people that really, these are the people that built Richmond.
Yet the descendants of those buried here never forgot. They always knew where their sacred spaces were. Park rangers emerged as early leaders, and since then, waves of volunteers have cleared brush and trash, restoring dignity to Evergreen and East End cemeteries. By February 2024, Richmond City Council passed an ordinance to accept ownership of Evergreen Cemetery and other sites, aiming to preserve and maintain them as historic African American cemeteries and public green spaces. Formal stewardship plans are still developed with ongoing consultation from volunteer and descendant groups. Thanks to the dedicated work of the Virginia Outdoors Foundation, the City of Richmond, and many other partners, Evergreen Cemetery is now under public ownership. The easement conserving and protecting this hallowed ground is in perpetuity, ensuring that it will never again fall into neglect or be subjected to vandalism. Today, Evergreen Cemetery is more than just a historical site. It is a place where people can reconnect with their ancestors, honor their legacies, and reflect on the history that shaped our present. Evergreen Cemetery stands as a symbol of enduring dignity and respect for the African American community. It is a reminder of our collective responsibility to preserve and honor our shared history. Let us never forget the significance of this sacred ground. Evergreen Cemetery will remain a place of reverence and remembrance, forever protected for future generations.
The Richmond Foundation was able to get UNESCO World Heritage Site status, so this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site here that we're standing in.